Okay, yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, so before I start with the demo, I thought let's quickly just chat about Telleroo and as a whole, like what we are dealing with here. So from a business standpoint, the specific area that we're looking at now is related to the payment solution side. So that is making payments to your bills within your system that you have. In this case, it only will be Xero, but it's making payments to those bills that you have within Xero with at least a streamlined system. The reason why we move away from using the banks in these cases is there is a bit of headache with always having your key fobs with you, making those payments. And obviously, the streamlining with getting bill payments into a bank is not that simple because you normally need to load it quite manually to get it into those high street banks. So that's why we are leaning towards using third-party tools to help us with the process of making these payments to suppliers. Any thoughts or questions on just that kind of opening, I would say almost statement to starting the session? Okay.
Can I make a statement?
Go for it.
Just as Donnie said, using a third party, which is a software, it reduces the risk of error, accidentally transposing a number incorrectly in the bank, or the manual input of things. And also it reduces the time spent on doing actual payment runs because it is automated and it's not a person keying in or transforming workbooks from Excel version to the way that the bank wants it to be imported.
Yeah, no, that's very, very true. So let's quickly talk about Telleroo. And I'll be honest in saying that Telleroo is not the only player in this market. There are plenty in the market. One of the main ones that Xero has partnered with is called Wise. I don't know if you've used it before. They were previously known as TransferWise before. So there are a lot of players. I mean, numerous ones. And we always are constantly checking which ones would fit best with how we do things within our environment and our ecosystem of tools. And we've landed on Telleroo purely because there's a few factors in place here for me. One is it's easier to use than the Wise side of things. People might differ with that, but that's just our kind of observation of it. It's a bit more user friendly than using what we have within Wise. There's a better process flow, so you can kind of see how your batch moves through this process. And then the third one is the kind of key one for us, which is the banking details controlling. Normally with Wise, you don't actually have a solid control of those banking details. In the process we have designed internally where things mainly start their life within Xero, works their way through that process into Telleroo, there's a lot more control over those banking details. And you can quickly flag, which Telleroo does, it flags for you when things are changing, either on the account name side or on the banking details side. So that kind of checking is a main part for us, saying this, and Telleroo is the preferred option for us at the moment with what is on the market. So let's quickly talk about just is there any questions or thoughts on that? No questions, all good? Okay, so let's quickly talk about what is Telleroo. So Telleroo is a web-based system. It doesn't come with an app, so you will still access it like you do any normal website like Xero, like Google as an example. You will still access it via the web. You don't need any key fobs in order to make payments, but you will be required to connect it to a multi-factor authentication device. That could be Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, or any other ones that is on the market. That's obviously just to make sure you are who you say you are when you access that tool for security reasons. In terms of Telleroo itself, when you sign up to these guys, you actually get a bank account from them. That is your own bank account. I know Wise does the same, but just to for full transparency, so you understand how Telleroo works, you get a bank account from them that is in your name, and it has very specific sort code and account details for you only. That account is underwritten, I think, by Lloyd's. So just so you kind of just know how that puzzle fits together. So Telleroo has partnered with Lloyd's in order to get these bank accounts. The reason why you will need a sort code and account code is because you'll need to put money into Telleroo in order to make payments for the batches that you push through that system. To throw that stone a little bit further, and we'll get to the demo side now, I kind of just want to get the architecture of it all just for you in your own mind so you know what we are working with here. In terms of the tool itself, you It works the same as a normal bank account. So remember, 85K on your normal bank accounts are covered by government, which applies to Telleroo as well. So if ever any of these things fail, if you have up to 85K in those accounts, you will be covered by government, which applies to the high street banks as well. So same process. In terms of, let me just think through, in terms of anything else, I think in a way that covers pretty much the Telleroo side of things, with just that high level of it all. So any thoughts or questions on that side of it? All good? I'm not seeing any hands, so I'm assuming all good. Okay, so let me quickly show you how it looks, and I'll talk you through the website itself, just where what is a little bit, so you can get a little bit familiar with how it is, and then we can do an example of how something moves from Xero through the process into Telleroo. So I'll share my screen. Don't worry, all the figures you should see should all be a demo, so it's not anything that's live. So when you log into Telleroo, obviously it will be different for each of you guys, but when you log in, it will only have your entity in the top left-hand corner, which would then show you how it looks within your organization. Now, the aim of Telleroo was to give you a quick snapshot of all of your batches from the start. So let me quickly just go to pay runs. Sorry, this is actually the landing page that it will show you. It will show you all of your batches that you have within the system, if they've been rejected, if they've been cancelled, or if they're within the system. On the right-hand side, you would see your fund balance. So again, this is just a demo organization, but it would show you your balance that you have within Telleroo. And then it would show you those accounting details that we just talked about now, which is in essence your Lloyd bank account that's written or underwritten by these guys. Below that, you can obviously just connect your Xero organization with Telleroo to allow the pushing of the batches from Xero side into Telleroo. In terms of what you can do, you can add your team members on the side. So you can see at the top it says teammates, but you can add your team members into this as well. There's no pricing to that, so you can add as many or as little as you want into the system. And then you can define relevant access for them as well. I want to be quite clear on this because this has changed over the last year or so. So in terms of if ExluServ is involved in your process regarding payment runs, I want to be just quite clear that only one party can review batches. So let's say, for instance, ExluServ is involved in your payment run processes and you guys are involved. Not both parties can be involved with reviewing a batch. It can only be one. So if that's decided that you guys will take it internally for reviewing it, then it means the reviewing and the approving process will sit with you. And obviously, if ExluServ is involved and you want ExluServ to review things, then ExluServ can review, and then obviously you guys would still approve it on your side. So just know about that reviewing side. It's only one organization that can do it, not both, for just permission management. Any initial thoughts or questions on that? I think that's all good. So then let's quickly just talk about it. So if you work with Xero on a daily basis, you should be quite familiar with the approach of these tabs at the top. So if you work with bills within Xero, I'll just quickly show you here, bills to pay. It has these little sections that shows you draft, awaiting approval, and awaiting payment. Telleroo has kind of done the same in a way, where they have awaiting approval, schedule, awaiting funds, and then sending. This is kind of their 4 areas of how a batch moves from Xero through their system in Telleroo. Remember that only when a batch has been created and pushed from Xero would it come into Telleroo. So you won't at all see anything in Telleroo unless you are actioning it from Xero side immediately into the system. Okay, let's take you through quickly just a few things, just a few small things in Telleroo, and then I can take you through an example of how it moves through. So in here, I'm going to take you to one of these batches and just quickly show you. So when you push a batch from Xero into it, pretty much when you click on that batch within Xero, it would sit in a format like you see now. It would show you little bubbles at the top that shows you awaiting review, which is always the first stage, waiting approval, and then scheduled, waiting funds, sending, and paid. These last 4 steps pretty much all happens depending on if you have funds in the account and when the money needs to leave. So just so you're aware, the first 2 stages is the first one, which is the reviewing part. So whichever party will do that. And then the approval part would always be with you guys in order to approve the match within the system. In terms of permissions, just so while we're on the approval side, you can add different people to approve within your organization. It's not that complex that it's limiting you to say, listen, 2 or 3 people need to approve it. I think if I'm correct, if you add 3 or 4 people that is approvers, any one of them who approves would cause the batch to release and go outwards. So just so we know on that permission side of things. Yeah, so if we scroll down, you can see what's in your batch. So it would show you all of your invoices that's within the batch. If you are paying, in this case, let's say we have a CAF as a supplier. If they have this little ticky next to it, it just means there's multiple invoices that you're planning to pay for them as a payment throughout the run. So they would normally just batch them together like this, and then you just drop them down and then see those individual bills within them. The nice thing is it brings over all of your attachments from Xero. So if you have multiple attachments in Xero to these bills, be it they are approval per max processes or whatever the case is, emails or whatever the case, they would bring over all of those attachments within the system. So if you click on these little pages on the side, it would give you a little link like this, and it would show you all of the attachments that you have within Xero that you can click on here as an example, and then it should open it like that. And then you can see exactly, who's, you can obviously then see the details, irrespective of what you've added on that side. So that's in terms of that. What Telleroo has tried to do within this process is add a bit of master data for you within Telleroo. So I'll quickly explain what I mean by that. So when you have suppliers within Xero and you are paying them for the first time through Telleroo, Telleroo will flag them as being new. And the reason for that is because it's the first time that you're making a supplier payment through Telleroo. And Telleroo then says, listen, we are going to capture, 1, 2, 3 tester, fresh and CAF as contacts within Telleroo, and then keep that as a master set within Telleroo going forward. If at any time you then plan to change your contact name within Xero or change the banking details within Xero, right, and then do the batch payment again, Telleroo is then able to flag out and say, listen, things have changed. Either it's been amended, the account name or the banking details, or if it's a new one, then that's one that you need to check. So that is a way for you to then monitor very easily what is your new suppliers that come through and anything that's been amended. If you are paying the same supplier with the same details as you've done previously on Telleroo, then there will not be anything in this column. It would just be blank. So you'll only be highlighted things that are new or that's been amended. So that's an easy way for your team always to go and only check those relevant ones. You don't need to check the whole batch because you know the details, if the details are the same on the contact name and the account name, that they have been used before and they are correct. So that is at least a nice way for us to, minimize the amount of time you spend on checking every single payment that you make on a batch payment. Okay. Any thoughts or questions? I know I've gone through quite a bit on the batching side here, but I just wanted to just kind of take you through the steps that's involved on those batches.
Can I just ask, and I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it, but can you have different people doing the reviewing? So people who aren't set up as approvers doing the reviewing and checking off on this stage, and then other people set as approvers?
Correct.
Okay.
So I'll quickly show you over here. We are on the demo organization, but I'll show you over here quickly in settings. You have a selection that you can do for reviewers. So in here, I can select do I want to be able to review things. Obviously, the approving settings you can do within your teammates. In there, you'll be able to select, I want Jess to be the approver instead of being the reviewer. So that's kind of how they split those two areas. Let me quickly see. So that is then in terms of the batches. I think one thing just to mention as well is when batches come over from Xero into Telleroo, you have options within Telleroo to remove invoices from that batch. You have options to change the date of when that payment will be released on Telleroo as well. So nothing is set in stone as soon as it comes over from Xero. You are able to say, no, you know what? For some reason we don't want to pay that specific bill, so you can just take it off your payment run in Telleroo, take it off. And then the same with if you want to release payments, you have a scheduled date that's always shown that comes directly from Xero, but you are able to amend this within Telleroo as well, and it would release the money at when you've set that pace to be done. I think the last thing I just want to add in here before we go into just showing you how a batch moves over is talking about the fund balances that you have within Telleroo. So there are a few cases or thoughts here. How some people normally approach it is as soon as they load the batch, they would load the funds as well into Telleroo. My approach has been kind of slightly different, where I almost ask clients to bleed the funds into Telleroo, weekly almost, with a standing order. So you set a standing order on your bank, you bleed funds over there, a 5, a 10, however you define what that value is, and it just moves over weekly into your Telleroo, instead of always having, on the day when you're making the payments, to stress about getting a large amount of money over into Telleroo in order to make those payments. And that kind of just takes the stress out of that process as well. So that's something that I've been doing with my clients and it's been working really, really well. So you can set up standing orders with your banks in order to move things over. All you'll need is just your account details, the sort and account code in order to do that within the system. Okay, I think that is then pretty much the high level, or at least the detail of Telleroo. Maybe then quickly take you to Xero, and then from that side you can see how it moves through. So I go in here.
Ask a question?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
You just said you can set up a standing order. Our payment levels vary quite considerably. So how easy would it be to move money back if we needed to? If we decide not to pay somebody, or we're not paying at the level we thought we would when we did our forecasting?
Is this, for instance, if you have too much money in Telleroo and you want to move it back into your main account?
Yeah, so say we've got a cash broadcast. Yeah, can we get it back?
Yeah. I have the same issue now, especially December, January periods for some of my clients, and it's immediate. You can create the payment immediately within Telleroo to yourself in essence, and then you can push it back immediately.
Okay.
Just on that, in terms of making payments, so Telleroo in a way is designed mainly to work with batching from Xero and pushing it through, but it does not preclude the use of payroll to this process as well. We have clients and that Telleroo has allowed you, so if I just go here quickly just to show you, they have allowed you to sync your payroll from specific providers. So you can see Xero, Payfit, and I'm unsure about who these guys are, but you can sync your payroll files automatically to Telleroo. And then other ones, you can get specific exports from these providers, put them in, and they would automatically load you that whole pay run or payroll file within the system. So that also takes out a lot of stress, loading those payments for salaries and that we use for clients. Okay, let's then quickly run to Xero. So in Xero, I've just selected a couple of these. How this works, I'll just quickly go here. So when you have your awaiting payment, and apologies if some of you are not that familiar with Xero, so I'll try and make this as simple as possible. When you are within Xero and you go to your bills section, bills to pay or purchase overview would get you to the same information. When you're within your bills section, you can see all of your bills within here. The date, and I'll quickly go back here, the date that Telleroo uses in the scheduled date section is your planned date that you use within Xero. So if I go back over here, you'll see over here Xero has a planned date that you can apply to your invoices. If you apply a planned date to any of these invoices, I'll just quickly show you my batch that I'm going to use now. I've added, let's say, the 13th of January to this. It uses that planned date as the first date, to release the funds for you. Again, like I said, you can change this in Telleroo, and also you can change it when you do the batching process, but it's just to explain where that date is coming from. It comes from this planned section that you do over here. Okay, so you'd first then select your batch that you want to make a payment to. So I'll make a payment. You'll say pay bills. This will then show you that. Then you'll select your Telleroo account and say create payment file. This date over here at the top comes from the plan date, but again, you can change this here as well. So if you felt, we should rather make this on the 15th, then you can make it the 15th over here. And then when you push it, so when you say create payment, this would move it through into Telleroo. So just give it a sec to load quick. Takes about 10 odd seconds, 10, 15 seconds. There's some internal checking that Telleroo does before it comes over to make sure your batch is correct. So this is now the batch that came over. In your batch, if there's any errors that was identified, it would be flagged to you. So you'll see there's a secondary tab in here that shows you, oh wait, something has failed. In this case, the bank and sort code details don't match. Let's just be clear on this. Telleroo does not check your banking details against any listings that the main banks have got. So if we take a slight step back on that, the main banks at the moment, so I'm talking about the high street ones, HSBC, Barclays, or NatWest, and so they have an internal list that they have and that they share comprehensively between them in order to validate banking details and the account name. That process that those main high street banks are doing is only involved when you make single payments, and it's not involved when you make batch payments to suppliers. So they only use that system for single payments. At the moment, Telleroo does not have access yet to that, and it's part of the open banking legislation in getting extra people into those lists as well. But at the moment, when Telleroo gives you an error like this, it mainly means that something is wrong with the formatting of this. Maybe there's a space in here, or maybe the digits aren't correct. The formatting of what you've given it is not correct. So all it would do is it won't fail your batch. It would just take off those relevant suppliers that's causing an issue for you. You are then able to say, listen, I really want to fix that. So you can just go in here and say cancel or reject your pay run, head back to Xero, change the details in Xero quickly to what it needs to be, and then start the process again from Xero's side. In terms of what it shows you, this is then exactly the same we talked about previously. So this is the first time that we're paying this specific supplier, so it's flagging it as new. You have your bubbles at the top that shows you exactly where this batch is. So it's sitting in a waiting review at the moment. Once I click mark as review over here, after I've done my review of checking the banking details against the relevant information, then let me quickly show you. Then this would move it through the process to awaiting approval. And normally what will happen is the approvers would also now get an email from Telleroo saying, hey, listen, a batch has just been reviewed. Could you please go in and approve that? So I'll quickly show you over here. You would get a batch, like an email like this. Let me just put this on. You get an email like this that says, listen, I've just reviewed a batch. It's now ready for approval. It will give you the link to go straight into that batch. And when you click that, it would take you straight into your batch that you need to approve. Any thoughts or questions on that? I know I'm running a little bit because I'm scared of time at the moment, but any thoughts or questions on the side? Okay. So that is in essence, in a nutshell, the Telleroo process from Xero into the system. We've been using it internally probably for about 2 years now with some of our clients, probably about 10 of our clients, and it's been working pretty well. I'd probably say that the biggest changes also comes over when you start bringing in payroll things, because a lot of people spend loading individual payroll things into the system, or they key in the amount a little bit wrong to what the actual report was. So that export import has helped us a lot with the payroll side of things. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick demo of it. If there's any thoughts or questions, do let me know. And yeah, I think that's pretty much me, Kira.
Perfect. Thanks, Donnie. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions now.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
With a pleasure. I think one thing just to add before I close this out, in terms of pricing for Telleroo, I'll be honest as well. The pricing compared to Wise is fairly competitive. We do get a fair amount of discount from these guys because we are, partnered with them in a way. So in terms of that, there is discounts that we get internally with them. I can share with you guys like a, little snapshot or whatever of that pricing schedule, but it works off your transaction volumes. So if you are having, 5 items in a batch, that would count towards 5 transactions. The one key thing that Telleroo is different from all of the other providers is if you are making, 10 invoice payments to the same supplier, it would only count as 1 transaction because it's only sending them all of those amounts once to one supplier. So it doesn't count it as 10 different transactions. It just counts it as 1 if you are loading multiple invoices for the same supplier in a batch. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you appreciated or enjoyed it. And then, yeah, if there's any thoughts or questions, please reach out, and then I'll be more than happy to help you.
Thanks, Donnie.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
All
day.
the best.
Thanks everyone for your
you.
time.
Bye.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.